mention it to me. And just, not seeing memes on Facebook and stuff. And I'm 41 years old. Never really thought about it. Like the holidays specifically. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. So like we didn't do holidays, like any holidays. And I decided to do a fast. I was buying some groceries at this local place, and the woman, she's like, "Oh, you're fasting on?" I told her I was fasting. She's like, "On Memorial Day weekend?" Because it's usually like a big cookout weekend. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I didn't think about it." But I guess the idea is that we need to be grateful. And I like the idea of gratitude. I do like the idea of gratitude. But I'm not sure if I can retroactively support all the wars of this nation. I mean, I don't know. There may, most people will say, "Well, we had to stop Hitler." That's like the biggest thing they'll point to, and maybe that's true. I don't know, but hello, Darren. Hello, Darren. I'm just getting a chat here. Just trying to understand. I'm pretty sure that word is person. Okay, it says you can say hello in person, so to say. Okay. So, anyways, yeah, Memorial Day. I don't know. I don't feel. That wasn't ingrained in me, so I don't automatically, like now as adult age or at adult age, I left the religion. I was like 16, but still, things are put into you as a child. That sense of patriotism is something that's ingrained. It's not just something that you're going to adopt. That's why they say the Pledge of Allegiance every single day. That's why we stand for the national anthem, and they have songs, and they have rituals to try to inspire this feeling of I don't know. I mean, I've been there, but I've all as a Jehovah's Witness, I was taught that was bad. That was a bad thing, and now not as a religious person. It's just not something that I've chosen to just immediately adopt, or that said, yeah, I need to just all of a sudden cultivate this deep, strong patriotism and love of country. But I mean, at the same time, I'm very happy to be, here in America. I have my opinions about what's going on in the world, but they're just that. I don't have concrete enough beliefs and an accurate view of history enough to go back and say, yeah, I need to be deeply thankful that these wars happened. Because really that's what it's about to me. Well, what about, I mean, the soldiers? Yeah, I mean, I feel for the families, and the people that died in wars were good people a lot of times, doing what they thought was right. So it's a sad thing when people die, always. But I just don't know if I can get on board and say, yeah, it's a great thing. Isn't it a great thing that they died so we didn't have to? I mean, well, first of all, I owe a debt of gratitude to everything that's ever happened in the entire history of the universe. Because if events didn't unfold exactly the way they did, then I never would have been born. I never would have been here, and or maybe I would have. I don't know. So I mean, I do have that sense of gratitude for. I wouldn't change the world. Well, I mean, I guess I wouldn't change the past, because if you change the past, then you probably will erase yourself and all of society as we know it. Because everything, past, present, it's all, it's all connected. Anyways, that's my take on Memorial Day. but still, don't let it stop you from barbecuing. And I don't know. I'm reflecting more as I get older. It's like these holidays happen, and I think most people don't even reflect. So when a holiday happens, I'm like, what is this about? Can I get behind this idea? Um, Not that it really matters. I mean, I can still go to barbecues and eat burgers. Not that I'm doing that today. It's raining. And we're just hanging out. I'm not doing anything. Actually, we made barbecued burgers yesterday. Fasted for almost 48 hours. It's about 43 hours. Almost 2 days. And then we ate at Poke Bros, and my stomach has not been well. Just because of that, though. Just the past week, I don't know. I don't know what it is. My stomach hasn't been the greatest. So my wife suggested this. I went out and got some. I don't know if you could see the label there. Yeah, activated charcoal. Just put a spoonful in some water. Those old suckers on the front there. It's Memorial Day. Memorial Day, which is memorializing all the soldiers that have fought in all of the wars in America's history. And I can get behind remembering, I can get behind the holiday of remembrance, but I don't know. I would say let's remember all the war, and, let's remember all the bullshit wars, and let's remember all the profiteering from war. Let's remember the horror from war, and let's not do it again. That's what I would say, because this glorification of the soldier, it's really just propaganda. It's propaganda, and it's been forced down people's throats since childhood. I don't know. You got the movies, the video games. Everybody's brainwashed by the soldier hero, and the absolute necessity of war. Which okay, sometimes you may have to fight, but you don't always have to fight for the crony bankers, and that's all we've been doing. Yeah, have we been fighting for our freedom? I don't know. I don't think so, though. I don't know history enough to get behind it. I feel like it's and I feel like not that I'm saying I'm completely totally ignorant, unaware. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying history is something. History's not an exact science, anyways. We weren't there. How events unfolded, all we know is what they told us. I mean, we know what the newspapers reported, but even if you go back and you look back at the facts, I think you'll see different stories behind everything, anything. There's always another side to the story. I mean, 9/11. I was thinking about 9/11. It's just, and the way these buildings came down, like just pure demolition style, and just, I don't know. It seems like there's so much. There's such a there's such like a overwhelming amount of evidence to support that. 9/11 was false flag. All these things are false flag. The world seems like it is at war all over. It is at war for oil. Okay. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. For the rest of the resources, oil is only one resource. I think. I mean, And I think it could be a big part. Probably have a good point there. But I think that war uses oil. So I don't think that the way I see it, I don't see the world being at war. I don't see, the citizens of the world really caring to fight each other. What I see is staged um, conflicts. I see manufactured conflicts for the purpose of profiteering and selling more oil. I mean, war probably uses more oil, than than anything. You got jet planes, you got all the machinery, and then if your war is in a place that has oil fields, like you blowing up oil fields, that will only raise the price of oil more. And they'll like that. They don't mind sacrificing a few wells, show some big flames on the news. It's all propaganda. People don't want to fight each other. Nobody wants to fight each other. I mean, unless somebody's, coming in your house or coming in your neighborhood, coming in your country and attacking you, people don't want to fight. That's what I think. I mean, in some sense, the Europeans should want to fight. I don't know if it could be overblown propaganda, but it seemed like the migrant crisis. There was just, I heard a lot, a lot of bad things going on, rapes, and just a complete kind of invasion. Just the way they just dumped all these uh, migrants from these war torn places on Europeans. But they created all. They created. So, anyways, yeah, everybody here in America is grilling out. They're, drinking a lot. I haven't had a drop of alcohol. I can't drink anymore. My old ass body doesn't want it. It likes other things, but not that. I am drinking my coffee black this morning. I don't know why. Give it a try. But yeah, drinking, grilling out, and telling each other, how much we owe them, how much we owe the fallen soldiers, how we owe our freedom to them. And they repeat that we owe our freedom. You owe your freedom to these people who died. You owe your life to these people who died. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't exist. You would be in it. You would. How do you know? How do you know what the fuck would happen if all the wars, didn't happen in the past? You can speculate. You can speculate. And yeah, if they didn't happen, like I said, if things didn't happen the way they did, none of us would probably be here. The other people here, and would they all be assholes? Why is this the best possible universe? Because of people that fought and died in wars. Because people fought and died in wars, we are now living in the best possible universe ever. And you should have a feeling of just pride well up inside you because of this, and just deep gratitude and thankfulness. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. It's what I don't feel how people tell me to feel. I'm sorry. I don't feel it. At the same time, to anybody who's lost anyone in a war, condolences, and nothing wrong with remembering fallen soldiers, but I think we should remember them and try to prevent further deaths, not glorify it, and glorify it for our children so they want to go and join the army And so they can be fallen soldiers too. They can be glorified. They can be memorialized. You can be memorialized too. You can be a hero. People will feel this way about you. And that's why young men go join the army. They want to be heroes. Darren says the migrant situation in Britain is hidden. No press coverage. I know your O's are P's, Darren. Let's see. Some of them anyways. Nope. Yeah. The media is a complete sham. They are a complete sham. That's why, it's important to kind of get a sense of what's going on without the media. I just completely ignore the media. There's like different phases of waking up, I think. You realize the media is bull crap and you say it's bull crap, yet you still watch it and believe it. That's a lot of people are there. They're like, yeah, I know it's all lies, but let me see what's on Fox News. Oh, this is a great story. Did you see this story? But then you get to the next level. You know what? I'm fed up with this crap. And you just turn it off and you ignore it and you pretty much pretend it doesn't exist. And that's where I am with the mass media. I do listen to NPR because I very rarely, just sometimes early in the morning, just because I like to get just a little flavor of what they're talking about. Some of the headlines. But I realize it's propaganda. It's propaganda on the highest level. Really, everything is propaganda. I'm propaganda too. I'm propaganda on the lowest level. I'd rather have a low level. I mean, propaganda for what? For me. Because that's all I can be. I can only speak for myself. Unless somebody else was paying me, I could speak for them. That's how it works in the media. I'd rather hear people speaking their own views and opinions than reading some script. And that's all news media is a script. It's a script for us, especially for you and me, to work its way into our brains and cause us to make connections that aren't there, paint a picture that isn't real, complete fiction. It's an elaborate fiction being created in your mind. Even if you watch the media and you know it's not true, but you still watch it and you think that you can pick out your little bits of truth and ignore the lies. No, they are too good at this. The only way to avoid the media trap is just to not watch it. Don't watch the telly. Don't watch the telly, Darren. How's my British accent? Is it absolutely horrible? Sometimes I can do accents, sometimes, and then it can go bad. So I won't do any more. I'm sure that was bad enough. Sometimes my Southern accent just kicks in if I'm talking to like somebody else with a real Southern accent, Southern America. New York, I can't do New York anymore. I could do it for a while. I just haven't spent any time around my New York family. I was all over the place as a kid. New York, born in New York City, moved out west for a little bit, Colorado, California. Now here, South Carolina. He said it was good. Hey, Darren said my accent was good, and he's a Brit. I probably have some, I think I probably have some British. I got to do one of those blood tests. One of my friends just did that. I think I'm mostly Dutch, Irish, German, English, and Italian. Dutch, Irish, German, and Italian. Got rid of your TV, huh? Well, Darren's gone a step farther than me. I'm here preaching about don't watch it. And I still like sometimes watch Netflix and Amazon Prime. My wife got HBO. I watched a couple things. And I shouldn't. I realize I shouldn't even watch it. I don't know why I did. Oh yeah, my kid. The kids watch stuff, which is probably I shouldn't even let them watch stuff. Lazy. Just a lazy parent, I guess. It's hard, to not use a television when you got kids. I was like, well, let me put on some of this old stuff. I put on this Disney from 1937. It's like Three Little Pigs. It's got the big bad wolf, And then you got, I was like, wow, I see things kind of like symbolically. I was like, okay, wow. And the wolf is actually speaking German. So, I guess this is like World War II era, like pre-World War II, or right leading up to that. So, and the wolf and his little three wolf cubs are speaking German. And they got charts up on the wall how they're going to cut up the pig. And of course, one pig builds his house of straw, one of wood. But then the older brother, big brother, which represents the government, big bad wolf is Germany, or in any case, a foreign enemy. So, he works hard. He builds his machinery. He even builds this war machine. He builds this special machine that just kicks the wolf ass. It just like puts him in this lock. And anyways, basically, it's pretty obvious. It's like big bad wolf, foreign enemy, big brother pig, government, little brother pigs, all of us that just like to play and have fun. But isn't it good somebody's working to protect us from an enemy? I have to pay to watch it. It costs $200 a year. Dollars or pounds? I thought you're in. It's not really a lot a year. Or did you just go ahead and convert it for me? Because pounds really won't mean anything. Actually, I don't know. Pounds are more, right? Pounds are worth, 1 pound is worth like what, a couple dollars or something. Anyways, that was my my breakdown of Three Little Pigs, Walt Disney Pictures. I would play it, but I'm so afraid to like play anything, because I don't want to get my live streaming banned like it was on my old channel. Really don't want to play anything. 140 pounds. Okay. Now I can see the conversion. 140 pounds is $200, huh? So yeah, I had to get on live and talk about my Memorial Day thoughts. Depending on who I said, I would get severely verbally and possibly physically abused, if I expressed these views not tactfully or just in the wrong setting here. If people are very emotional, they are very certain that death is a good thing. They're very certain about it. And, it's a culture of death. I think we live in a culture of death. We glorify war. And I know I'll also get a lot of flack on this, but I feel like, the religious thing, with the Christian thing, with Jesus dying on the cross, it's also, it's very gruesome. It's death. We're kind of like, death and blood is the way things happen, whether on a spiritual level or an earthly level. The shedding of blood is a necessary and sacred thing. And this is what our media, this is what our religion has been hammering into our heads. You know, it's violence. They infect us with this violence, and it's really a disease because I don't think that we like to be violent towards each other. It changes a human once you accept violence into your life, into your philosophy of the necessity of being violent. Then I think it changes you psychologically, mentally. But you know, if especially and then if you actually go to a war zone, I know people that go and they kill people or they just see death, traumatized, PTSD. It's like we're not meant to. I don't use that word meant to, but it has negative effects. It has negative effects on the individual and on the society, and it's obvious. It's this great sacrifice. It's the greatest sacrifice anybody can make. And it's true. I mean, it is. Dying is the greatest sacrifice. You can die for somebody else. And I can kind of see that as the ultimate act of love in a way, is to give your life up for somebody else. That is the ultimate act of love. And but I feel like that is used incorrectly. I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, a lot of soldiers, yeah, probably have that love, and I can honor that sacrifice if they're dying for pure love of their country, of a love of an ideal. I don't know. I can't look into a man's heart. I don't think all of them did, though. I mean, I think people join the military because it's an option there for them, and they're kind of coerced to. They're encouraged to by society or probably even family members. They're kind of pushed along, and just you know they're pumped up with all these feelings of and propaganda. So you here, we love our country. You need to too. Now you need to go fight and die, son. I mean, I know people believe it. If you're willing to send your children, especially now, anybody sending their kids into the military now, not that we have like a situation, like a dangerous situation, for soldiers right now. It's pretty safe to join the military. So, but if it looked like and it does look like we're getting closer to war. So, I mean, anybody sending their kid into the military should realize that the possibility of war is very real, and the possibility of things going bad quickly is very real. And I told him I do not try to control my kids. Anyways, I hope you're not thinking about joining the military. I said that's the one thing I will fight you on. I mean, I can't control them. I was like, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. But that is the one thing I do not want my kids in the military. One, they'll shoot them up with a bunch of vaccines that are terrible. I think a lot of soldiers have side effects just from the vaccines they shoot them up with because they've already had the full round of childhood vaccines, and now they're just guinea pigs and pumping them full of God knows what. And then there's the possibility of war and having to go somewhere to fight, to die, to kill, to witness death. For what? For what? Really? Why am I going to send my son to Iraq, to Afghanistan, or maybe Syria or Iran? Why? It makes me angry, really. It makes me angry. I know there's a great war coming. Just like It's like a wave crashes on the ocean. There's another one behind it, just because it's just the history going round and round. Good for you, Darren's mom. Darren says, my mother stopped me from joining the Air Force at 18. She said anything but the military. And, and I will acknowledge that, most, you can get in and out fine. There's plenty of there's training, it could be an experience and it builds character. I'm kind of behind all of that, and that's fine. It's just the very fact of it is the purpose of it is a war machine. But yeah, I mean, to go join, to go fly airplanes, that would be freaking awesome. I can understand, somebody just wanting to do it, just for the thrill, the adventure part of it. And I think that's why most young men do it. But yeah, good for your mom. She didn't want you to die, Darren. She don't, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But they've worked on us so hard. That's why they work on us, because a mother doesn't want her son to die. You're going to have some really strong feelings, some really strong patriotism to get a nation to start sending their sons over. And I guess daughters nowadays too. I wonder if it's still raining. It would be a lot lighter if it wasn't raining. It poured down rain last night. I gotta pee really bad. I will be back. I wish I could play some music, but I'm gonna look into that later. Gonna get a bit more coffee. All right, I'm back. Darren says, you have children, so do I. I wonder what the world will be left for them in 30 years' time. Yeah. Well, I hope I'm here to find out. I think I will be. I don't worry about it too much. Maybe even if I should be, because just worry destroys the quality of life. Worry and fear really degrade the quality of life. And that's what they want us to do. They want us to be afraid. They want us to be afraid of the big bad wolf. But as the situation is fluid, as the population maybe gets awake, I think that they will have no problem manipulating people's fears to another direction and painting a different picture, which just as easily suits their needs. Which is really as long as they keep their operations going, as long as they keep their wealth and their power and their control and continue to grow it, then they will be fine. All I know is whatever happens, I don't believe it. That's what I tell people. There's a great war coming. Just don't believe it. Doesn't have to happen though if you don't believe it. If we don't get behind it, they're gonna try. And they got bombs. They got bombs, but still, people don't have to. They don't have to go fight. They don't have to go pick up guns and go fight in a war. Because it's only going to make things worse. When they tell you it's time to go fight, it's time to tell you it's time to send your sons, don't send them. Don't send them. That's what I think. And if it comes down to the only way I see myself would like actually participating in a war is if they're coming for us in our homes. Like, all right, we tried, you stupid civilians, you stupid people. We tried to, since you won't since you won't get behind our agenda, we're just going to have to come and take you out of your homes and forcibly put you into these camps and completely take away all your freedom. When our actual literal freedom is threatened, and there's no way to live peaceably with my family, then I would fight. If there's people coming for us, there's people attacking us, taking us, then I will fight. But when something explodes in a big major city, when we get nuked somewhere, and they say now it's time to fly across, all right, ship out, boys. We just bombed ourselves. I don't think it's going to work that way. I don't think people will get behind it, but I think they're going to try it. They're going to try it'll be like a dirty bomb. I don't know what they're going to do. It could be something kind of clever, like flooding, like blowing up a dam or something, or, triggering an earthquake or volcano or EMP pulse. That's a big possibility, setting up a nuke in the upper atmosphere. There's a lot of things that could happen. I realize this. But whenever it does, I just won't believe it. The enemy doesn't exist. The enemy is already, the enemy is already in control. The enemy is already us. It's already infiltrated our government, our sacred institutions have long since been infiltrated and taken over. I think that process is now complete. Infiltrated, and these institutions may have started out, I believe the American government may have started out as something that was trying to escape. They were trying to escape the Bank of England. They were trying to escape that financial system. That's what the American Revolution was all about. But the British Empire won in the end because we went back to the same banking system. So essentially now it doesn't matter. America and Britain are essentially the same country, I believe. We won the Revolutionary War, but in the end, the British Empire won, which because the people, not Britain itself, not the Parliament, the puppet government over there that you have, I'm sure, not that I know much about it, but I just know that all governments are puppet governments. What's really behind it is the wealthy people, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, George Soros, all these people. And, there's some Americans that got included into the fold now. So, no hard feelings between Americans and Brits on the lower or the upper levels, I think. I mean, I think we're essentially the same country, but also the same evil empire. I mean, I feel like it almost would be better to just be up front and say, you know what? We're an empire. We're taking over the goddamn world. It's the same thing that's been going on since Roman times, except for it's just sneaky. It's done with, the wars are fought with propaganda, and I guess in a way it's better. It's better to be able to conquer without shedding blood. That is better, I guess. But we still have the same sadistic, evil ruler pricks ruling over us. We have rulers, owners. I think there's a Western Empire, and then you've got the Chinese and the Russians. That's it. And then the Middle East is just, the Middle East didn't want to cooperate, so that's why they're in chaos, except for Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is part of the West. All of Europe is part of the West. China's pretty much been doing their own thing. China's pretty rude. They're pretty their human rights abuses can be kind of astounding within their own country, I think. But as far as messing with other countries, they've been good about keeping within their borders, I believe. It'll all be one world soon, though. That's when I think the last war, if the West ever tries to like really take down China, to take control of it. Because I don't think the Chinese would ever concede to a world government and just join some sort of world order. I don't see it. I don't think they should either. Yeah, I think really the Middle East at this point, the Middle East is just part of the Western Empire unfolding. The Middle East it's just like the playground for us to, for the American military to try out their toys. That's our big bad wolf. The Middle East is our big bad wolf right now. What am I going to do today? Normally I'd work, but working with 3 other guys. Everybody wants the day off, so take the day off. It is a rainy day here. What's the weather like over there, Darren? You still with me? It says I got 1. I think I'm fading. Just don't know what else to talk about. I don't know what what to say. So I will say, namaste. Namaste. I want to go somewhere tropical. I want to go somewhere tropical where I can fish and grow a garden and collect wild foods. I want to soak up the sun. I want to tell everyone to lighten up. Sheryl Crow. Okay. Am I losing it? I think I'm losing it. One day, I will be something. Well, I am something now, but that's the American dream, isn't it? It's hard to escape it. Work hard. Be somebody. Be somebody. Change yourself. You can do it. Don't give up. I say don't give up, but give in. Or maybe give up and give in. Just don't give out. That means you're dead. Oh, I shouldn't keep drinking coffee. I'm gonna be all hyper. I'll be all hyper. I feel like I need to take a break outside. I wish I have something to play for you that is not copyright. I might just play another channel. I might go in my subscription and see what is there. Subscriptions. The Stone Philosopher. Today, 16 hours ago, this week. Huh. I know there's like more stuff, but let's play that. And I'll be back in like 5 minutes or so. This is from Jamie Deluxe channel. I know he's not going to hit me with a copyright strike. So I'm going to do a screen share over there. Share the screen. And I'm going to unmute that. And where's my volume?
I don't know. I had it set up differently. But since I had to go live with Dave the other day, hold on. All right. I had to do it through OBS, so I kind of messed everything up. So I have to get it back.
I want to start by re-emphasizing the point that what are called the religions of the East, the ones we're discussing, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Chinese Taoism, they don't involve that you believe in anything specific. And they don't involve any idea of obedience to commandments from above. And they don't involve any conformity to a specific ritual, although they do have rituals, but their rituals vary from country to country and from time to time. Their objective is always not ideas, not doctrines, but a method for the transformation of consciousness. That is to say, for a transformation of your sensation of who you are. And I emphasize the word sensation because it's the strongest word we have for feeling directly. When you put your hand on the corner of a table, you have a very definite feeling. And when you are aware of existing, you also have a definite feeling. But in the view of these methods or disciplines, the ordinary person's definite feeling of the way he exists and who he is a hallucination. To feel yourself as a separate ego, a source of action and awareness that is entirely separate and independent from the rest of the world, somehow locked up inside a bag of skin, is seen as a hallucination. That you are not a stranger in the earth, that comes into this world either as a result of a natural fluke or being a sort of spirit that comes from somewhere else altogether. But that you, in your fundamental existence, you are the total energy that constitutes this universe. Playing that it's you. Playing that it's this particular organism. And even playing that it's this particular person. Because the fundamental game of the world is a game of hide and seek. That is to say, that the colossal reality, the energy that is everything, that is a unitary energy, that is one, plays at being many, at manifesting itself in all these particulars that we call you and 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 this and that and all around us. And it's fundamentally a game. And you can say that this goes really for all the systems that I'm talking about. It's the basis of Hinduism, of Buddhism, and of Taoism, this intuition. Now, today we're going to talk about Buddhism. Buddhism is an offshoot of Hinduism. You could, in a way, call it a reform of Hinduism, or Hinduism stripped for export. It originates in northern India, close to the area that is now Nepal, shortly after 600 BC. There was a young prince by the name of Gautama Siddhartha who became the man we call the Buddha. Now, the word Buddha is not a proper name, it's a title. And it's based on the Sanskrit root Buddh, B-U-D-H, which means to be awake. And so you could say the Buddha is the man who woke up from the dream of life as we ordinarily take it to be and found out who he was, who he is. It's curious that this title was not something new. There was already in the whole complex of Hinduism the idea of Buddhas, of awakened people. And curiously, they are ranked higher than gods. Because in the view of Hinduism, even the gods, or the angels, the devas, are still bound on the wheel of the sort of squirrel cage of going round and round and round in the pursuit of success. And the idea is that if you pursue something that you can call success, pleasure, good, virtue, which originally, of course, means strength, magical power, all these positive things, you are under illusion because the positive cannot exist without the negative. To be, you only know what to be is by contrast with not to be. So if we say, now, there is a coin in the left hand, there is no coin in the right. And from this you get the idea of to be and not to be. And you can't have the one without the other. So if you try to pursue, to gain the positive, and to deny, get rid of the negative, it's as if you were trying to arrange everything in this room so that it was all up and nothing was down. You can't do it. You set yourself an absolutely insoluble problem. Because the basis of life is spectrum. I'll consider the spectrum of colors. When you think of a spectrum, in what form do you think of it? Most people think of it as a ribbon, with red at one end and purple at the other. But the spectrum is actually a circle, because purple is the mixture of red and blue. It goes right round. And so in this way, all sensation, all feeling, all experience whatsoever is moving through spectra. You don't only have the spectrum of color, you have a spectrum of sound, you have various complex spectra of texture, of smell, of taste, and you're constantly operating through all the possible variations of experience. And it implies that you can't know one end of the spectrum without also knowing the other. So if you wanted, say your favorite color is red, and you wanted only red,
Baby's awake.
and you had to exclude, therefore, blue and purple. Without blue and purple, you can't have red. Behind, of course, all the various colors in the spectrum is the white light. And behind everything that we experience, all our various sensations of sound, of color, of shape, of touch, there's the white light. And I'm using the phrase, the white light, rather symbolically. I don't mean it literally. But there is common to all sensations what you might call the basic sense. And if you explore back into your sensations and reduce them all to the basic sense, you're on your way to reality, to what underlies everything, to what is the ground of being, the basic energy. And to the extent that you realize this and know that you are it, you transcend, you overcome, you surpass the illusion that you are simply John Doe, Mary Smith, or what have you. So then, the Buddha, as the man who woke up, is regarded as one Buddha among a potentiality of myriads of Buddhas. Everybody can be a Buddha. Everybody has in himself the capacity to wake up from the illusion of being simply this separate individual. The Buddha made his doctrine very easy to understand, because in those days there wasn't very much writing being done, and people committed things to memory. And so he put his doctrine or method in various formulae, which are very easy to remember. And I'm going to explain it in those terms so that you can remember it just as well. he, of course, practiced the various disciplines that were offered in the Hinduism of his time. But he found in a certain way that they had become unsatisfactory because they had overemphasized asceticism, had overemphasized putting up with as much pain as you can. There was a feeling, you see, that if the problem of life is pain, let us suffer. And this is the root of the ascetics, you see, who lie on beds of nails, who hold a hand up forever and ever and ever, who eat only one banana a day, who renounce sex, who do all these weird things, because they feel that if they head right into pain and don't become afraid of it, but suffer as much pain as possible, they will, by this method, overcome the problem of pain. And they will set themselves free from anxiety. There's a certain sense in that, as you can obviously see. Supposing, for example, you have absolutely no fear of pain. You have no anxieties. You have no hang-ups. How strong you would be. Nobody could stop you. You would have ultimate courage. But the Buddha was very subtle. He is really the first historical psychologist, the great psychologist, psychotherapist. He is very subtle because he saw that a person who is fighting pain, who is trying to get rid of pain, is still really fundamentally afraid of it. And therefore, the way of asceticism is not right. Equally, the way of hedonism, of seeking pleasure, is not right. So the Buddha's doctrine is called the middle way, which is neither ascetic nor hedonistic. So it's summed up in what are called the Four Noble Truths. And the first is called dukkha. Dukkha means suffering in a very generalized sense. You could call it chronic frustration. And it is saying that life as lived by most people is dukkha. Is an attempt, in other words, to solve insoluble problems. Try to draw a square circle. You can't, because the problem itself is meaningless. Try to arrange the things in this room so that they're all up and none of them down. It is meaningless. Such a problem cannot ever be solved. So try to have light without dark, or dark without light. It can never be solved. So the attempt to solve problems that are basically insoluble and to work at it through your whole life, that is dukkha. Now, he went on to analyze this, that there are what he called three signs of being. The first is dukkha itself, frustration. The second is anitya. And this means the letter A in Sanskrit at the beginning of a word is often the equivalent of our non. So nitya means permanent. Anitya means impermanent. That every manifestation of life is impermanent. And therefore, our quest to make things permanent, to straighten everything out, to get it fixed, is an impossible and insoluble problem. And therefore, we experience dukkha, or this sense of fundamental pain and frustration as a result of trying to make things permanent. And the third sign of being is called anatman. Now, you know from my talk on Hinduism that the word atman means self. Anatman means, therefore, non-self. That there is in you no real ego. Now, I've explained that already. I've explained in talking about Hinduism that the idea of the ego is a social institution. It has no physical reality. It is simply, the ego is your symbol of yourself. Just as the word water is a noise which symbolizes a certain liquid reality, so the idea of the ego, the role you play, who you are, is not the same as your living organism. Your ego has absolutely nothing to do with the way you color your eyes, shape your body, circulate your blood. That's the real you. But it's certainly not your ego, because you don't even know how it's done from the standpoint of your conscious attention. So the idea of anatman is firstly that the ego is unreal. There isn't one. Now then, this then is the first truth. There is this situation that we have dukkha, or frustration, because we are fighting the changingness of things, and because we don't realize that the ego, the I, is unreal. The second of the Four Noble Truths is then called Trishna. Trishna is a Sanskrit word again, and is the root of our word thirst. And it's usually translated desire, but it is better translated clinging, grabbing, or there's an excellent modern American slangy word, hang up. That is exactly what Trishna is, a hang up. Trishna is clutching. As, for example, what we call smother love. When a mother is so afraid that her children may get into trouble that she protects them excessively. And as a result of this, prevents them from growing. Or when lovers cling to each other excessively and have to sign documents that they will curse and swear to love each other always, they are in a state of trishna. And this is the same thing as holding on to yourself so tightly that you strangle yourself. Now, so the second truth then about Trishna is that the cause of dukkha is Trishna. Clinging is what makes suffering. If you don't recognize that this whole world is a phantasmagoria, an amazing illusion, a weaving of smoke, and you try to hold on to it, you see, then you start suffering. Seriously suffering. Trishna is in turn based upon avidya. The same negative, vidya, from the root vid, means knowledge, as in the Latin video and the English vision. Avidya, therefore, is ignorance. Gnosis, gna, means, of course, to know. Knowledge is the same thing as gnosis in Greek. to know. So this is not to know, to ignore, to overlook. And I explained in the first talk in this series how we ignore all kinds of things because we notice only what we think noteworthy. And therefore our vision of everything is highly selective. We pick out certain things and say that's what's there, just as we select and notice the figure rather than the background. Sometimes I draw this on the blackboard and ask the question, what have I drawn? What would you say? What have I drawn? The circle. Any other suggestions? Yeah, you're getting the point. I've drawn a wall with a hole in it, you see. But ordinarily, you've been reading my books. So, but ordinarily people see the ball, the circle, the ring or whatever, and never think of the background because they ignore the background. Just as one thinks that you can have pleasure without pain. You want pleasure of the figure and don't realize that pain is the background. So avidya is this state of restricted consciousness, restricted attention, that moves through life unaware of the fact that to be implies not to be, and vice versa. So now the third noble truth is called nirvana. This word means blow out. Nira is a negative word, again, like vana is blowing. So it's a kind of outblowing. Now, in breathing, you know that breath is life. The Greek word, you may pronounce it pneuma or pneuma, is the same as spirit. And spirit means breath. In the book of Genesis, when God had made the clay figurine that was later to be Adam, he breathed the breath of life into its nostrils. And it became alive, because life is breath. But now, if you hold your breath, you lose it. He that would save his life will lose it. So breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, get as much air as you can, and Trishna, cling, and you lose it. So nirvana means breathe out. What a relief that was. The sigh of relief. Let it go, because it'll come back to you if you let it go. But if you don't let it go, you'll just suffocate. So a person in the state of nirvana is what we might call a blown out person. Like blow your mind. Let go. Don't cling. And then you're in the state of nirvana. And I re-emphasize the point. This is not, I'm not preaching, see? I'm not saying this is what you ought to do. I'm simply pointing out a state of affairs that is so. There's no moralism in this whatsoever. It's simply pointing out, like, if you put your hand into the fire, you'll get burned. You can get burned if you want to. It's okay. But if it so happens that you don't want to get burned, you don't put your hand in the fire. So in the same way, if you don't want to be in a state of anxiety all the time, and again I emphasize, if you like to be anxious, it's perfectly all right. If that's, see, Buddhism never hurries anyone on. They say, You've got all eternity through which to live in various forms. And therefore, you don't have just one life in which you've got to avoid eternal damnation. You can go running around the wheel and the rat race and play that game just as long as you want to, so long as you think it's fun. But if there comes a time when you don't think it's fun, you don't have to do it. So I wouldn't say to anyone who disagrees with me and who says, well, I think we ought to engage the forces of evil in battle and put this world to right and so on and so forth and arrange everything in this world so that it's all up. Try it, please. It's perfectly okay. Go on doing that. But if you see that it's futile, then you can let go. Don't try to cling. Relax. And if you do that, you're in the state of nirvana. And you become a Buddha. And of course, it means that you become a rather astonishing person. You may, of course, be subtle about it and make like you're a very ordinary person so that you don't get people mixed up. And so in Buddhism, the Buddha explained that his doctrine, his method, was a raft. It's sometimes called a yana. The word Y-A-N-A, yana, means a vehicle, a conveyance. And when you cross a river on a raft, you get to the other shore, you don't pick up the raft and carry it on your back. You leave it behind. But people who are what I would call hooked on religion are always on the raft. They're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on the raft. So the clergyman tends to turn into a ferryman who's always on the raft and never gets over to the other shore himself. Now, there's something to be said for that, because how are we going to get the raft back to the first shore to bring over the other people? See? Somebody has to volunteer to take the back journey. But he must be awfully careful to realize that the real objective is to get the people across and set them free. If you dedicate yourself to ferrying people across, don't ask them to come back on the raft with you, because you'll get overcrowded and people will think that the raft is the goal rather than the other shore. So when I find this in actual practice, that when clergymen do not ever ask for money, and it's all right, you know, like a doctor who simply charges a fee. Says, you come to me, you pay me so much. But the clergyman says, he doesn't say pay me so much. He says, we would like your pledge, your voluntary contribution. See, and then nobody knows what to give. That's the idea of the raft. Now then, the fourth noble truth is called marga. This word means path. And the way of Buddhism is often called the Noble Eightfold Path, because there are 8 phases. I won't say steps, because they're not sequential. Samyak is a very curious phrase. It doesn't mean right in our sense of correct. Sam is the same really as our word sum. Total, complete, all-inclusive. We might use the word integrated, as when we say a person has integrity. That a person who has integrity, we mean he's all of a piece. He's not divided against himself. So in this sense of samyak drishti, This is related to the word darshan, which means a point of view or viewing. When you go to visit a great guru or teacher, you have darshan, you look at it, and you offer your reverence to him. This is darshan. Many senses of it, but it means simply to view. Look at the view. So the Samyak Darshan is the complete view. For example, let's take the constellation called the Big Dipper. We look at it from a fairly restricted zone in space, and it always seems, whatever the season of the year, because we're so far away from it, that those stars in the Big Dipper are in the same position. But imagine looking at it from somewhere else in space altogether, and those stars would not look like a dipper. They'd be in another position. Now then, what is the true position of those stars? Don't you see there isn't one? Because wherever you look, the position alters. You could say that the true situation of those stars is how they are looked at from all points of view, all possible points of view. Inside the constellation, looking outwards, outside the constellation, looking inwards, from everywhere and everywhere. But you see, there is no such thing as the truth. The world, in other words, is not existing independently of those who witness it. Because the world is precisely the relationship between the world and its witnesses. And so if there are no eyes in this world, the sun doesn't make any light, nor do the stars. So what is a relationship. You can, for example, prop up two sticks by leaning them against each other, and they will stand. But only by depending on each other. Take one away and the other falls. So in Buddhism, it is taught that everything in this universe depends on everything else. That we have a kind of a huge network, and this is called the doctrine of mutual interdependence. All of it hangs on you, and you hang on all of it, just as the two sticks support each other. And this is conveyed in a symbol which is called Indra's net. Imagine a multidimensional spider's web in the early morning covered with dewdrops. And every dewdrop contains the reflection of all the other dewdrops. And in each reflected dewdrop, the reflections of all the other dewdrops in that reflection. And so ad infinitum. That is the Buddhist conception of the universe in an image. The Japanese call that Jiji Muge. A Ji means a thing event, a happening. So between happening and happening, Mu, there is no Ge separation. Jiji Muge. Now, so the first phase of the Eightfold Path has to do with one's view, understanding of the world. The second phase has to do with action, how you act. Buddhist idea of ethics is based on expediency. If you are engaged in the way of liberation and you want to clarify your consciousness, doing that is inconsistent with certain kinds of action. So every Buddhist makes 5 vows. 5 precepts. And you may perhaps have heard the Buddhist formula of taking what is called Panchasila, the 5 precepts. And they take what are called Tisarana, the 3 refuges, and the 5 precepts. The refuges are the Buddha, the Dharma, the doctrine, and the Sangha, the fellowship of all those who are on the way. So the priest, the bhikkhu, the Buddhist monk, and the lay people will chant the formula. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhanghang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. Those are the 3 refuges, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Then they take the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu michachara veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
I'm reading the chat at the same time, too. Jamie seems a little stressed out. I figure out what the heck he's talking about.
So they take these 5 precepts. Panatipata. I undertake the precept to abstain from taking life. Adinadana. I undertake the precept to abstain from taking what is not given. Kamesu mityahara. I undertake the precept to abstain from exploiting the passions. Musavada. I undertake the precept to abstain from falsifying speech. Sura Merya Majjapamadhatthana. I undertake the precept to abstain from being intoxicated by Sura, Merya, and Majjapamadhatthana, whatever they were. I presume toddy, which is alcohol. I don't know what else it was. Nobody does know. Because you see, if you start killing people or taking life, you're in trouble. You set up an opposition and you've got to become involved in taking care of it. If you start stealing, you worry people. You upset people's orientation in life, because if you suddenly come into the back home for dinner and find somebody's stolen your table, where are you going to serve dinner? If you exploit your passions, it means that when you feel bored and somehow that life is a little bit empty, you say, well, now what are we going to do this evening? Let's go and get stuffed. There are a lot of people who suffer from obesity are trying to simply fill their empty psyche by stuffing themselves with food. Well, it's the wrong cure. So, likewise, Musavada, if you start telling lies to everybody, you know what happens when you start telling lies. You have to tell extra lies to cover up the first one, and you get into the most hopeless misunderstanding. Speech collapses. And of course, the intoxication is the same problem as the exploitation of the passions. So there's a purely kind of practical, expedient, utilitarian approach to morals. There's another side to this which doesn't enter into the precepts, which I will explain later. So that's the third phase of the Eightfold Path. Then the second phase. Then the third phase has to do with your mind, with your state of consciousness. And this has to do with what we would ordinarily call meditation. There are the two final, the seventh and eighth aspects of the path are called Samyak Smriti and Samyak Samadhi. Iti means recollection. That's the best English word for it. Now, do you understand? The word recollect is to gather together what has been scattered. What is the opposite of remember? Obviously, dismember. What has been chopped up and scattered becomes remembered. So in the Christian scheme, do this in remembrance of me. You see, the Christ has been sacrificed, chopped up. But the Mass is celebrated in remembrance. One of the old liturgies says the wheat which has been scattered all over the hills and grows up is gathered again into the bread. Remembered. Go back to your Hindu basis. The world is regarded as the dismemberment of the self, the Brahman, the Godhead. The one is dismembered into the many. So remembrance is realizing again that each single member of the many is really the one. So that's recollection. You can think of it too in another way, and it's really the same way if you think it through. I'm going to leave you with a few puzzles so that you can think them through, and I won't explain them. But another way is to be recollected, is to be completely here and now. Are you here and now? Are you really here? There was a wise old boy who used to give lectures on these things, and he would get up and not say a word. He would just look at the audience. He'd examine every person individually, and they'd all start feeling uncomfortable. He wouldn't say anything. He'd look at them all. Then he'd suddenly say, "Wake up!
I think I'm going to have to go here.
You're all asleep. And if you don't wake up, I won't give you any lecture." Are you here, recollected?
All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing. Wife and baby are up. I think they're about to come in. I was just reading the chat there. I don't know, many of my viewers will be familiar with Jamie Deluxe. I've been following him for a while. It sounds like he's kind of stressed out there. I'm going to keep it
See, most people aren't.
on play. So I can still see his... I have to change a shitty diaper. I didn't think he had kids that young. I was still reading the comments there on that video. I could just listen to Alan Watts all day long. I thought about starting a channel where I just like stay live like all the time. I guess you can do like 8-hour live streams. You just end one, start another. I guess just like every 8 hours, just do like a 24-hour live stream and just play Alan Watts and similar videos, or you know, and have it broken up with some discussion, some chat. I really want to do some chats with Jamie. Jamie, you won't see this, but I think he will. We eventually he did a live stream first with me before he did any live stream. Yes, he always said I popped his live stream cherry. I kind of encouraged him to go on. He came on my channel, and since then he's just kind of been doing making his own videos, doing live streams. Before that, though, he was uploading. He was like recording and uploading. He was doing that before I even was. And here comes Mama and Baby. Good morning. Look at that smile. Good morning. Yeah, that's right. All right. I'm out.